where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a... Wait, what? What? I'm sorry, I'm being handed something. Excuse me. What is this now? You want me to read this on air? We're live, pal. All right. You are listening to an American Whammy podcast production. W2M Network is merging with American Whammy Productions and will eventually become American Whammy Media. Therefore, we here at the Radulich Broadcasting Network will be doing the same. So everything involved with W2M and the Radulich Broadcasting Network will become American Whammy Podcast. Damn you, Hollywood! And here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Yay!
Wow. You couldn't even
huh.
bother. You couldn't even bother just miming the opening of something. You couldn't have made a Pearl Harbor joke. Like, there's so many other things you could have snuck in there.
They never saw it coming.
A day which will live in infamy.
Hey, we are so we're taking a week off from the usual here at Damn You Hollywood, where we look at a feature-length motion picture currently in the movies and examining the weekend that was and all of that. And we're using this bye week to do something we don't normally get to do, but that Robert always likes to do. And, you know, he never, because he's afraid of me for some odd reason, he never wants to pitch anything. He's like, oh, Marco, yell at me.
Oh,
But-
hang on. I do not. Here's why I don't pitch you things. I've said this before. Because I understand your scheduling.
Yeah. It's
getting
better, though.
And I understand that if I pitch you something, you have to go, boy, that sounds great. How's next June?
It's getting better. It's getting better.
I'm aware.
We are getting
might,
to it.
And that might change in the future. But at the moment, I don't pitch you things out of respect for all the work that you put into scheduling things out.
Yeah.
And
So-
I'm also a terribly, terribly uninteresting human being with very few hobbies, cares.
Well,
or
one of
concerns.
those hobbies is anime. And when I saw that we had a bye week, and then I also saw that Bubble was going to be on Netflix this past weekend, I thought, hey, this would be an opportune time to do something fun for Robert, do something we don't normally get to do on here. And then I had another thought for Robert Winfree. I thought, hey, the American Whammy Media Production Podcast Schmagegi also syndicates another podcast called Talk the Keki. And
Talk
it just
the Keki.
to Talk the Caucus. Yes. And so
Don't
I
even
thought,
try, man. Don't even try.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
Better people than you have, and they have broken upon him.
and so I thought to myself, like, I should bring on the guys from Talk the Cactus, and they should come on here and talk about anime with us. And I happen to have one of those guys here against his will. It's Mathew Sarpraicone. How do you do, sir?
Konbanwa, hello. How you all doing? I'm very happy to be here.
We're very happy to have you.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys talked about this months ago, so I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yes. Speaking of scheduling things months in advance, I'm like, it's
Yeah.
January, and I'm like, hey, I want to talk about Bubble and Belle in May.
Yeah. No, first it was just Belle, like, but it came out in January, but it's like May. Like, oh wait, it's gonna be digital release in May. Okay, that makes sense now.
I'm going to come back to you in just a second, but I'm glad you're here, man. It's fun to every once in a while do one of these. Get a guest from another show to come on here and do some collaborating. I've been told they don't collaborate enough. I'd like to be a collaborator. So
yeah, I'm available whenever you guys do anime movies and stuff.
well, speaking of wanting to do anime characters, ladies and gentlemen, David Wright's here. How do you do, sir?
Hello, David.
I'm good, thanks.
That's the correct way to deal with Mark's nonsense. You have to no-sell it.
I'm good, thanks. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mathew, please kindly tell us about yourself and your podcast and your great love of anime. that brought you to the dance today.
Alrighty. I've been a fan of anime since I was about like 7, 8 years old. I didn't know anything about it, just whatever was on Toonami, like Yu Yu Hakusho, Outlaw Stars, Dragon Ball Z, and like I just love it. It's like it's not like the American style of animation where it's just nonsense. Like these were like actual stories, and it's not just for children, like for like adults, teens, whatever, all age groups. And then I found this Facebook group called Eat the Cake Anime. That was where I met my co-host and all that. And I was in the middle of a wrestling podcast for Japan, and I wanted to get out of it, do some more. And Ethan, my co-host, was like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast. Who wants to join me?" He's like, "I'm free." He's like, "Well, I'm free. I got this new workstation set up. I wanted to do more podcasts and stuff. So what a great way to do with that."
Everyone here other than Mark has made that same mistake.
And
Not wrong.
And we were having trouble with a name. Like one of them was a Yu Yu Taku Show, as a play for Yu Yu Hakusho. I thought that was a fine idea, but
it's a good idea. But when you start talking about something other than Yu Yu Hakusho,
yeah, I know that's
what
the issue. Like
about?
if we would have to like talk about an episode per episode. Well, we weren't going to do that. So, okay, let's do Talk to Cake because of the Eat the Cake anime group on Facebook. So, okay, so we'll call it Talk to Keki. We'll say Japanese cake, which is Keki. And we can figure out what we were going to do. And I don't really see it much, but we just review the new weekly seasonals. All the stuff that comes out every season, like the fall, winter, all those shows. We pick what we're going to watch, and then we talk about them, whether it's myself or even by himself. And then we end it with, we talk about what we're watching together. And that's just how we got off with that. Just doing that. It's been a lot of fun. Trying to filter Ethan with his mouth. But he's a good guy though. But no, I couldn't have asked for a better co-host. And it's been about a year and a couple of weeks actually. So
outstanding. Happy almost anniversary. What's your top 3 favorite animes of all time?
Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Violet Evergarden.
Did you hate the live action show too?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, easy, Robert. Easy.
Hang on. No, hang on. That's usually followed by I didn't watch it.
No, I did watch it. I had COVID around the Christmas time, so like, I may as well watch it.
God.
So I did watch it, and there was some stuff I liked, and there's stuff I didn't like, and then like I definitely hated Ed.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of Spy Kids over the top, and I thought Spy Kids was very cringe. And I didn't like how the antagonist was portrayed.
Yeah, nobody did.
Yeah,
he was like a badass in the anime, and this he felt like a cartoon villain. I was like, oh no.
So Cowboy Bebop. What was the second one?
Violet Evergarden,
good call.
and then Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
All right. Well, we are here, and I'm going to pitch it over to Robert now to do his job now that we've set the table.
Yeah.
We are talking Bubble, which just came out on Netflix, and then we are talking Belle, which actually, as of this recording today, May 3rd, is now available PVOD and will be available on Blu-ray shortly. It came out in January. As a matter of fact, if you can go in the archives at W2M or wherever else you can find Talk to Keki, which is on the Chairshot Network, and then I think their very own feed, the very same.
On Spotify,
they did a solo review of Belle, but we're happy to have them back here to revisit that review. So, Robert, go ahead and jump into the plot synopsis for Bubble, which is a 2022 Japanese post-apocalyptic animated film produced by Wit Studios, directed by Tetsurō Araki, and written by Gen Urobuchi, and features character designs by Takeshi Obata and music composed by Hiroyuki Sawano. The film had early screenings at the Berlin International Film Festival on February 10th, 2022. It was followed by its worldwide release on Netflix April 28th, before being released theatrically in Japan in May. And a manga adaptation of the film by Erubo Hijihara debuted in Shōnen Jump on April 22nd, 2022. Take it away in short fashion, Robert Winfree.
This will be a fairly straightforward plot synopsis. Yeah, a bunch of alien bubbles descend on the planet. They cause all kinds of problems. big catastrophe. Then one of them in particular forms a giant bubble around the city of Tokyo. Most people leave because there's all kinds of problems that exist within this particular zone. If you've seen Annihilation, think something a little bit like The Shimmer. Not quite as crazy though. Here, there's a bunch of gravitational anomalies and other kinds of environmental hazards. Black holes show up spontaneously, like they do. And as in any case, when you find places like this, the disenfranchised, the lonely, the orphaned will go there and set up shop and establish the Lord of the Flies. Here, it's not quite that dystopian. It's a bunch, again, there's a bunch of kids. There's some scientists in there studying the various anomalies. We're introduced to the primary method whereby disputes are settled in this particular zone is, they call it battle core. It's parkour racing. First team to get to a flag at the end of a course wins.
We were calling it American Ninja Warrior.
Yep.
Sure. That's fair.
You could have gone with Banzai.
They could have.
I already don't like this podcast. You guys are talking about stuff I don't understand.
Oh, it was before your time.
I'm getting jealous, Mathew. You keep talking to Robert, and Robert's picking up all your cues, and no one's talking to me. I want to talk to David. Hi, David.
Hi, Mark.
Want to talk Star Trek?
We'll tell you when you're older.
When you're older.
So
you hear 5 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
The messed up gravity allows them to do all kinds of really crazy stuff, and our primary protagonist is someone who also suffers from a very hypersensitive hearing. And he's the one who can still jump off of some of these bubbles that are floating around aimlessly in space, well, in the space of this area. And this allows him to win a lot of these races much easier than other people who don't have his abilities, because messing with the bubbles is a tricky proposition. Well, he's also drawn to one of the epicenters of the big cataclysmic explosion that started all of this.
Tokyo Tower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly famous landmark. And I almost made a Haikyuu joke there, and I'm going to restrain myself.
I don't know these things. I don't know nothing.
So he is trying to get up there once. He slips and falls, and one of the bubbles, which is mostly sentient, comes down, forms and takes on the form of a human girl, saves him from drowning. His group of misfits kind of adopt her. She slowly learns what it means to become human. They engage in another couple of races, one with a nefarious group of people who have sponsors. I don't know what sponsorship is like. I sure would like to, though. Mark, we need sponsors.
Well, talk to the people who run American Whammy, brother.
Apparently we're working on those.
We're working on it. This all kind of comes to... So there's a bunch of this. There's our primary protagonist, whose name escapes me off the top of my head. Forgive me.
Are you talking about the protagonist, Hibiki?
Hibiki, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
He and the girl, who he names
Yuta.
Uda,
Mhm.
yeah, which is just like Japanese for song, I think.
Yep.
They start to fall in love, but Uda is, again, an alien bubble given quasi-form through a weird combination of merging with other bubbles and being part of this dimension. They set this against the backdrop of the original Hans Christian Andersen Fable of the Little Mermaid, so you can kind of tell exactly where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, one of the other instances of these bubbles, Uda describes as her sister, wants her to come back home. Eventually, she does, stopping Uda from destroying the Earth, because the bubble, again, fairly typical stuff here if you're into this genre. She sacrifices her corporeal form in order to stop the destruction of the planet. But everything that she learned and all the friends she made along the way made everything that she did definitely worthwhile and changed her. And everyone the bubbles basically remove their nefarious and malicious aspect of them. There's still some that are around, but the big barrier over Tokyo drops, so the city can be rebuilt. Water level goes down a little bit. And everyone kind of gets back on with their lives, and Hibiki just still kind of feels that Uda's close to him, whether that's reality or just in his head, we're not quite sure. Again, it's a pretty straightforward it's a lovely little film. If you heard the director's name that Mark just read and that sounded vaguely familiar, or you watched the film and were curious about some of the directional cues that came up, that's because that gentleman directed the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan. And if you've seen that,
And
you
Death
can...
Note.
And Death Note, yeah. Oh, Death Note's so good. But if you can see some of the similar camera tricks that he uses here. So anytime they're doing the free running sequences, he does a lot of fun stuff that's very reminiscent of, again, the stuff you do with the ODM gear in Attack on Titan. So visually very nice, lovely little story.
David, you've been waiting patiently, and we'll go David, Mathew, and I don't know, me and Robert can arm wrestle for it. But so let's start with you, David. What were some of your thoughts here on the craft for Bubble?
Animation wise, very good. Like the parkour sequences are very well directed, very well animated. They're certainly the highlight of the film. General animation wise, very solid stuff. Character designs are have a very urban aesthetic to them, urban Japanese aesthetic. So depending on how much you like that, your mileage may vary. It's not quite the look I go for, but to each their own. I mean, story-wise, like the moment Uta took out the Little Mermaid and started reading, it's like, well, I know I'm not going to get too attached.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the most suspense I ever got out of the film was like, it's like, no, they can't just literally be doing the Little Mermaid. Like there's got to be a twist towards the end, maybe, and there wasn't. So if you like parkour and you like the original non-Disney version of the Little Mermaid, you will love this film. It's perfectly for you. If like me, I kind of find that story very, very depressing. I understand the message of it, but it's just I was not in the mood for the girl dies ending, sort of. So
where do you among the anime films that you've watched over the past couple of years, middle, upper, lower, like where does it rank for you?
I'd say middle. Like it's, again, technically there's nothing bad about it. Like everything makes sense in the story. I didn't get lost at all. Again, the parkour sequences were very well done. As mentioned, the actor from Attack on Titan, Death Note, he knows how to do dynamic action scenes. Susumu Hirasawa, the music, he's worked with Satoshi Kon a few times, so he's very good at doing ethereal scores. I mean, again, it was kind of a bit of a depressing score, I found.
Very melancholic.
Yeah, very melancholy. So if you want to just like marinate in melancholy, this is a great film for you. If you're looking for something more upbeat, traditional, happy, not so much. But like I'd say, again, technically it's very good. I think your enjoyment of the story goes for if this is the kind of story that you like, where if you are into a bit more melancholy.
All right, Mathew, go ahead and take it away here. Tell us what worked for you in the film first, and then if anything, what didn't work. Yeah.
Okay. I love the animation for this because it reminded me of from Vivi Fluorite Ice Song, which was an original show from last year, which was one of my favorites. Yeah, and it's the same studio, Wit Studio, and I got that same animation feel. How they did the parkour was fantastic. The camera angles is how it was shot, drawn, animated, whatever you want to call it. They nailed it for what they wanted to do. They wanted to focus more of the parkour aspect of it, and when they did, I just was not disappointed at all. And Yuta's song I loved, especially the rest of the score. But whenever she did her little humming, I really liked it. I thought it fit it where they were in terms of like the races and stuff like that. I get the character designs are nice. I liked Hibiki and Yuta together for what little time they had together. But no, they had a good dynamic for a bit. And again, if you've seen Little Mermaid, you knew what was going to happen.
Or rather, if you know the original story of the Little Mermaid.
If you know the original story.
If you've seen the Little Mermaid,
if you've seen the Disney
this
version,
movie is going to rip out your heart.
Yeah, but if you've seen the Disney version, kids, I hate to disappoint you. No.
That is the case with a lot of the Disney films because they base them on Grimm's fairy tales, and there's a reason why they call them Grimm. I'm going to just throw this out there. I'm going to ask you a direct question because you and David both mentioned the parkour, and that is obviously the big selling point of this movie. I think the other thing is the colorful animation and whatnot.
Right.
But I mean, really, like you're here to watch the parkour, and I don't know. For me, one of my big criticisms of the movie one of the few, but the big criticism was that I feel like they did the parkour thing a little too much, too long in every sitting. It just felt like on a
You probably could have done away with like one race.
Yeah.
And I think one of my other gripes was, aside from Kai, I did not care much about the other side characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like they were always had to feel like they were just there.
Mm-hmm.
And this Undertaker group, I thought like they looked cool and all this. Like, what was their deal? They didn't add anything except for those special shoes that they wear.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do they get them? How do they find them? Why just give them away?
And there was one character, kind of like a long blonde-haired character, I think with glasses, that seemed like he was going to fill the role of the guy being displaced on the team by the new girl.
Yeah, he seemed
Usagi?
Yeah, he seemed kind of like into Uta and maybe possibly jealous of her relationship with Hibiki.
Right. And then did they not do anything with it?
Yeah, you're kind of waiting for the moment where he like stabs him in the back,
right?
Assaults Uta,
or costs him the race.
Yeah, he causes some friction or division within the heroes group, but no, he's kind of there mumbling to himself, and then when the big ending happens, he's like, okay, I'm driving the ship now.
Yeah. I think that was just piggybacking off some of what you're saying, Mathew. Those are my big frustrations. I did like there was one scene, and it's goofy, but it made me laugh. Is where they feed her for the first time, and she has the egg, and she doesn't like know what to do with it, and has kind of a stranger in a strange land. Like she
crushed the eggs.
I struggled with this movie, but I think I struggle with a lot of anime, so you can't really go by me. This is not my genre. But I tried. I tried for Robert.
As long as you try, that's all that matters.
Yeah, this is not a movie where you get hung up on the details. You kind of just sit back and let it wash over you. Because if you start getting nitpicky, Lord knows if you start getting like real world physics on this, your head is just going to seize.
Right.
All I ask if you're gonna mess with physics this badly is you give me an in-world reason. Like I'll take the journey with you if you give me a reason.
I think they did though, right?
And they did. Yeah, they did here.
Okay.
It's one of the things they say. Like gravity here is all kinds of messed up.
Right.
So okay, if you tell me that, I'll take the journey with you. Sure, we can do all kinds of other
do it just
stuff.
because.
Yeah. Is there really quick, Mathew? Is there anything that you didn't like about it? Was there, when you think about
I didn't care much about the side characters except for Kai. He was pretty nice. I wanted to know more about the Undertaker group. That I felt like what was their deal? Like,
they were kind of like like from Gem and the Holograms. They were kind of the misfits.
It's like they had cool designs and all this. I want to know where they got those types of shoes. Did they make them? Did they find them? Were they made by the Bubbles?
I think it was kind of implied that they were from their sponsors.
Mm-hmm. But I think
but they didn't fully say that. Like, who are they and how did they get them? I feel like these are special types of shoes that you want to know more about. The fact you don't know about them. I
want to transition over to Robert but I want to ask him a very specific thing and then let him talk about his ideas. But I think one of my biggest criticisms about anime in general, at least the stuff that I've been exposed to, is and you and I talked a bit about this during Devilman Crybaby, the navel gazing that goes on in a lot of anime. Dave, you've spoken to. There's definitely cultural styles that are very present in almost anything Japanese, but especially anime. And it's sometimes hard for a Westerner like myself to wrap my head around it. Right. And this felt like that. This one was another, I wouldn't say tortured, though some of this stuff can be for me. But it definitely
it's meditative, right? Yeah. Like there's a lot of the experience that's kind of meant to be more, again, purely experiential.
Mm-hmm.
And just you let the mood and the visuals just kind of wash over you rather than are necessarily all that engaged in the story.
Yeah, like if you want something where everything is explained to you, every nook and cranny of the world has been fleshed out and understood, like what they did with Star Wars now, where we have to know, where did Han Solo get his boots? It's like, I just bought them from a store. Like, who cares?
Considering Lando's wearing all of his clothing at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
He stole them.
Yeah. But you don't really have to go down every rabbit hole of every character and everything. It's just sort of sit back and enjoy the experience itself and kind of, do what, play around with what they give you and kind of figure it out from there sort of thing.
Robert used the word experiential, and I think that really does speak to how you should view this movie. You guys use the phrase, let's just let it wash over you. Yeah, it's kind of a blanket. And I think that's where I personally struggle with it, because like I'm very much a story driven guy. I want to be on a train. I don't want to just lay back and let the blanket fall on me. But go ahead, Robert. I started you off here with just my general impressions. What did you think?
Again, this is a perfectly lovely little story.
Mhm.
I think there is a narrative issue that needs to be discussed here. We've all kind of touched on it.
Right.
This is not sure whether or not it wants to be a 13 episode single series of an anime or a movie, and consequently it winds up a little bit half pregnant. You've got a bunch of side characters that are interesting to look at and that are intriguing, but because we're in a film format, we never really get a lot of chance to explore and flesh out in the way that you would if you're in a longer format type of medium.
Right.
By the same token, you don't really embrace some of the more immediacy that comes with a 90-minute runtime. Well, this is actually more like 2 hours, but for the sake of argument, you don't really embrace the what that's able to give you as a narrative constriction. So your story's a little bit not quite where it needs to be. Your pacing's a touch off, and you don't quite get the character relationships as fleshed out as they could be. So again, this is just a little bit, I think, conceptually halfway between 2 points. That said, like I said, like we've all mentioned, the animation is beautiful. The score is really good. It's a nice little adaptation of The Little Mermaid that they don't. I appreciate that they don't even try to hide it. They kind of walk you by the hand.
Yeah,
with that.
they even talk about it in the film.
Constantly.
So it's a fun little way to watch a movie. Just let something kind of wash over you. Enjoy the visuals.
Show the kids.
Yeah, my kids both liked it, but it's funny, Mathew. I don't know how old you are. I'm older
31.
than dirt. You're 31. Okay, so you're a child. I'll be 46 in a month. I think all of you guys are plus or minus 10 years of each other. Rob, you're late 30s. Dave, same thing.
Mid 36.
36. Dave, same thing.
37, so I'm just ahead of Robert.
Yeah.
All right, let me on this one here.
Look, hang on. This is the first time I have not been the youngest guy on a podcast I've done in a long time.
So I definitely think, and I think this is worth kicking around for just a minute, and I'm going to write the time code here because I have a sneaky suspicion I'm going to want to use this for TikTok. I'm wondering how much of anime resonates with people just after my generation. So again, I'm 46. I'm deep in the heart of Gen X. I'm wondering how many people around my age struggle with this, but it definitely appeals to your guys' demographic, obviously, and then all the way down to my kids who are 8 and 11. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot of like modern American Western animation that my kids don't like, and their cohorts don't like, but they all talk about anime and they all talk about manga. And I have to wonder, Robert, then Dave, then Mathew, is how much of this is the content itself just somehow doesn't reach people my age, but there's something about you younger folks that it does speak to.
Well, there's a couple of things I think that go into this. One is, again, formative years are very important. People of your generation just didn't have access to it the way that we did.
I think it's also the fact that with your generation, cartoons were mostly for kids. And with that aspect of it, as an adult, you're not going to look at it. Like, even though there's a lot of it that is for adults, teens and such, you're going to think it's just a kid show.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think here's the other thing about this, and this might be blasphemy depending on who you were listening to, but a lot of the stuff that came out when you would have been the appropriate age mark just wasn't very good.
First of all, how dare you? Thundercats, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers.
Hold on. I'm not saying they're wrong to like.
Gundam says around the time.
Voltron. Yeah. Hang on. I liked an anime. It was Voltron.
Saint Seiya.
Look, yeah, and Speed Racer was a thing. Yeah, I'm just
Star
saying.
Blazers, Space Battleship Yamato.
Yes.
Yeah.
Space Sandwich out my toe?
Space Battleship Yamato.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Sailor Moon.
The point there is, one, it was all a lot. It was not quite to the same quality that we get nowadays. Nowadays, a lot of people have put enough time and enough energy into making this stuff to all kinds of different degrees and all kinds of different categories that it's more recognized as a legitimate art form than it was. Yeah, again, back when you would have been a kid in the late 70s,
like watching Gigantor or something.
and that's just what it was at the time. That's not a good, bad, or otherwise. It's just a statement of reality.
Hang on. All you have to do is watch the documentary "The Toys That Made Us" to know that 90% of the cartoons generated were long-form commercials to sell toys.
As someone who grew up being marketed Transformers and the Ninja Turtles, yes.
Yeah.
David,
well, hang on. Here's the last thing I think that is important to understand about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think people of your generation, Mark, will resonate with it. You just have to be a bit more. People like, again, about that 10-year gap, we're a bit more, and we've done this enough, that we're good about curating our selection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know how to find what we like.
Yeah.
Whether that's purely visual, so you know which studio to look at. Anything by Studio Bones is going to be gorgeous, by way of example. So sure, I give them a bit more. I give them a bit more credence. I know which other reviewers and whatnot whose opinions are either in line with mine or whose opinions I respect, so I can kind of filter what I'm interested in that way. You get a sense of, again, how to filter out stuff that you really will be interested in, because there's a bunch of crap that I hate so much. But if you know how to curate the experience, right, I think this will resonate with you the way anything will. I mean, there's a reason I pointed you at Odd Taxi as one of these things, because I knew you would enjoy that.
David, just piggybacking off what Rob said, I want to direct you and then also hear your thoughts on sort of this ball we're kicking around on why elder folk don't necessarily gravitate towards anime, but younger folk do. One of the things that I was thinking about as I was watching this was the pacing. Mm-hmm. There is a deliberate pacing that I feel like is in a lot of anime. And it kind of reminds, and it's weird that I have such a struggle with it, because I'm also a big fan of 70s cinema, where the pacing of everything was deliberate. I mean, the Deer Hunter's still going. You know what I mean? That is a 12
the Deer Hunter
decade-long movie.
The Deer Hunter turned into The Irishman at some point.
Yes,
that's a seamless transition.
And so while Dog Day Afternoon, while I love all these big time arty 70s deliberately paced features, then I watch a lot of anime, and I'm thinking everything from like Spirited Away to this to my daughter dragging me to the Demon Slayer movie, and I was like,
hey, careful what you say about that. It's pretty good.
And does anyone in Japan know how to move the camera a little quick? And I say that out loud with the tacit recognition that I grew up in an era where everything moved fast. And I was almost like trained to be an ADD adult film watcher, because it was all supposed to move quickly, so that I would then run to the room full of adrenaline and go, "Mom, toys!" So what do you think, David? Am I onto something here, or am I off?
I can't really comment too much on the pacing of things. Like, my best guess would be due to the manga inspired roots of a lot of of where most anime comes from. Like, it's taken from the way that manga is made. Also, the budgets on these productions are very, very small compared to an American animation production. So they have sort of learned and developed every trick in the book to just make the maximum impact from the minimum motion.
Wait, so what I'm interpreting as navel gazing and deliberate is actually them just holding, it's like the Flintstones, just holding the damn image still because they don't have enough money to animate the thing.
That might be part of it. It could just be a stylistic editorial choice. It could be a cultural thing. I can't really give you like the in-depth answers. These are just some theories.
No. We're kicking a ball around, buddy.
As for your main question about am I too old or something like that? I mean, the vast majority of anime is made for children.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, like I know, like when you first get into anime, like, oh, in Japan, adults watch animation too. It's not just for kids. No, it's mostly for kids. Like, the reason why 99% of all anime takes place in high school.
Right.
Well, that and even the adults in Japan yearn for the younger days before they became salarymen with their souls crushed.
That's one theory too. But
Yeah.
It's a contributing.
Well, the main demo
Let's
now
go.
is mostly teenagers. That's why Shonen's so popular.
Yeah.
well, shonen means like young men. Like
Yeah.
that's the target audience, just like shoujo is young women. But there's also like seinen, josei. Like there are older men and women targeted stuff. But
Right.
the majority of it, the stuff that makes the most money,
Is the teen stuff, yeah.
yeah, that targets the teens or preteens or kids. With a few
Even-
like family shows that people will watch, like your Sazai-sans, your Detective Conans, and so on.
Or Lupin the Third.
Yeah, Loop on the Third. All these
Lupin.
shows that most people.
I watched the newest one. That was really good.
So one of the reasons is most of what you're watching is meant for children.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like maybe like of all the stuff you've mentioned, Spirited Away is probably the only thing I can think of that's like made for older people, because Miyazaki is now a bitter old man who hates the world.
So I want to just give you some,
do
just
you
to
mean
clarify
now?
something. When I was
He
a
still
kid,
does.
so I'm in high school, and the little bit of anime that we're exposed to in high school, I remember the big things were, Mathew, if you want to weigh in on this, Akira and Fist of the North Star. Like, to
Yes.
me, that was anime. I don't know if either one I would say was meant for children.
Fist of the
No.
North Star.
North Star, yes. Akira, not so much.
North
No.
Star. North Star is much more it's a young it's a young boy power fantasy. It's mostly what
Okay.
Fist of the North
Yeah,
Star is.
and then
Look-
now they have JoJo for that.
Hey, JoJo's is awesome.
It is, yes.
Isn't the one you pitched me? You're like, please just watch one season of JoJo's
I've-
Magical Adventure.
Bizarre adventure, and I think if you ever do get around to watching it, like, you will either hate that or you will love it. There's not a lot of middle ground on JoJo's.
Yeah,
it's
it's more of you got to be patient, because not a lot of people like part 1, but they really love it once they get to part 2 and then part 3.
Part 3 is where everything kind of really kicks off, but you also don't really appreciate part 3 without parts 1 and 2. So there's
And
part
you
one
need
was-
it for the stars, the story wise.
yeah.
So
Another thing I'll also point out, like, when you get into something like this, the cream rises to the top. Like when you first go into anime, you've got access to like all the good stuff right at the start.
Right.
It's the same thing with people that get big into like British TV, right? It's, like Downton Abbey and
The Crown.
The Crown, and like, oh man, their TV show is so much better. Yeah, I talked to my friends who are from England. It's like, what are you talking about? English TV is shite. They're thinking about like the common serials that they watch, like just
I will defend our older British TV series, but Are You Being Served still makes me laugh.
oh, that's a great show. But I mean,
I
there's
like The Office.
again, like
the UK Office.
like you get all those sort of well done classic and prestige stuff making now at the start. So you think like, man, their stuff is so much better than ours. Well, no, it's because you're getting access to that like 1% of stuff that's truly exceptional. And there's so much of it. Once you chew through that and you start to get to
Their actual stuff.
more pure stuff, then you're like, oh, geez, yeah, there's a lot of really bad anime out there. There's a lot of bad anime right now. There's a lot of bad anime in the past, but there's also a lot of good stuff through the years. And you can just gorge yourself on that at the start, and you just think this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You know what I think is some of the best stuff to come out of Japanese culture besides the hentai? You want to know what it is, David?
Music?
It is. How did you
All
get?
right, good.
I like the band.
I thought you were going to say the wrestling, but
We have two.
I have a sponsor.
excellent top-tier soundtracks, and that was the segue you went with. Okay.
Yep. I like the baby metal, and I like the Bandmaid. I'm hoping we get now 1,000 listens just because I mentioned Bandmaid out loud.
Only if you put it in the description.
And I think Love Bites is another one that I like. And anyways, Robert, do you know where I can listen to all these Japanese bands with the Joshi Jaiken Hachitachi girls singing with the death metal?
Please stop.
oh my God.
J-pop, that's it. It's J-pop. That's the one. J-pop singers with the death metal in the background.
Oh my me.
Well, look, that was the least offensive variation of
Yeah.
what was on there, so we'll go with it.
At least Joshi, which was a real word that was.
That refers to wrestlers. That one I knew.
I got that.
And God, 90s Joshi was so good.
Oh my God! Give
Yeah.
the plug.
Well, given that I have access to the internet, I know there are a billion different places where I can listen to any kind of music that I want. But if you want a really good one that's high quality and that we're giving away a free 30-day trial to, Amazon Music Unlimited is a great service.
Yes, it is. We are, in fact, giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service with the link in this podcast at getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network, soon to become known as American Whammy, in which case we will need a new link. But right now, well, while it lasts,
there's so much stuff I've recorded already that I'm gonna have to.
Robert's like flip the table, angry now. Like no one consulted me.
I'm not. I'm probably just not gonna change some of the things.
Just leave it. No one will notice.
Everything going forward, I'll change. But
sure, I absolutely. You still owe me another Terminator, by the way. That hasn't been uploaded.
I'm
yet.
aware of where it is. It's not for at
He's
least
getting
another
to
year.
it.
I'll get it.
June will be here before you know it. GetAmazonMusic.com.
You said June of 23.
No, 22.
That's why I asked that question. I said,
and I answered you, June.
All
of
right.
20.
I said,
where the other Terminator stuff is. God damn it!
I said, wait, was that June of this year or next year? And you said next year.
No, I said this year.
It will be okay. It will be up. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. AmazonMusic.com.
I need pictures of Spider-Man, damn it!
The W2M Network for your free 30-day trial. And with that, let's go to the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Well, it'd be good if I actually put it on screen. There we go.
There we go.
That's the stuff. All right. Well,
all right.
I'm gonna get to yell at critics. This will be fun.
Yeah, the critics.
I'm ready.
The critics didn't. Yeah, give Mathew some room to work here. He's chomping at the bit. I told him. I told him what to do, and he's ready. So yes, the audience seem to enjoy it. The critics are probably like me, old fuddy-duddy.
Only 17 people.
They didn't love it. Is what happened here. So
top critic, no picture. So who are you?
Oh, we'll get there. Give me a moment. Let me do my thing here. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's start with James Hadfield, David, from the Japan Times. You know him?
No, can't say I do. I know the Japan Times.
Oh, perfect. That counts.
Okay.
It's better enjoyed as a rush of sensations, and there are moments when the visuals reach borderline psychedelic heights. If only the film as a whole wasn't so stubbornly earthbound.
I agree with most of that, except for the whole earthbound thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's getting at there.
Yeah, the last part of that doesn't make sense. He's entirely correct.
That's him. That's him being more clever than coherent.
Yeah, you're too clever by half there, buddy, for your own good.
All right. Next one. Let's talk to Robert's father here, Roger Moore of Movie Nation. I haven't read him in a while. We haven't caught up with your dad lately, Robert.
Yeah, that I had really hoped that something I had arranged for Mr. Moore had come through, but apparently still in the waiting process.
Did it involve a salmon of some sort?
I'm not saying anything else that might incriminate me.
Oh, good, you're learning. Roger Moore.
Podcast won't be used as evidence at a trial.
Roger Moore of Movie Nation, Robert's father. This isn't the least interesting story I've ever seen told in anime, but it's right up there.
Oh, that's ridiculous. This speaks to your ignorance, sir. Nothing else. There are so many less interesting stories than this that have been told in the anime genre.
Have they watched Bio Broly?
I know. Oh, that's bad.
You could have made a shot at them doing the Little Mermaid, but no, you went with that line instead.
I know. Like, if you want to knock the story here, fine. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying at least make your criticisms valid.
Mark Judgestick of Mark Reviews Movies. This is a different Mark, not
loser.
Me. Hey, he said the thing. Like,
yeah, no. Look at that picture, those of you who can, and tell me that's not the picture of a guy trying way too hard to look like he's a professional. And
can you do the line again?
What, you self-employed loser? I'm glad that amuses you.
We have fun, can't you tell, Mathew?
We like to have fun here.
Yes.
A lot of it.
Jokes.
When the movie is in motion, it's quite staggering. Unfortunately, there's a lot more to this movie that isn't.
Well, that is
Like
so helpful.
Yeah, that's a really unhelpful review. Believe like
Cares who elaborate?
They're really good at stating their positives. It's just when they get to the negatives, it's like stuff.
Explain, movie. Explain.
Do your job, critic. Do your job.
All right, we'll do one or two more of these and then we'll move on. Christopher L. Inoue of Observer, top critic. Red Star. He gets paid for this. Best of the best.
All right.
I didn't think I'd experience boredom while watching a film about a team of acrobatic teenagers who compete in life-threatening parkour competitions, all set in a gorgeous yet dystopian version of Tokyo, no less.
Well, at least you called it gorgeous.
But
I get the feeling.
This is point, at least.
I get the feeling you did expect to experience boredom, and that's kind of why we arrived where we did. Like, I think that's a disingenuous sentence you just typed out, buddy.
Yeah, my. Jesus.
James Marsh, Mathew of the South China Morning Post.
All right. These look, he's from South China, but you know.
I guess what? He hated it. This
no shit.
This cyberpunk retelling of The Little Mermaid boasts as much substance and narrative depth as the celestial bubbles that litter the dilapidated city space.
Okay, moron.
Cityscape.
This is not cyberpunk.
Yeah, there's
Congratulations.
nothing about cyberpunk.
You managed to be completely wrong about that.
Just say you didn't watch it without saying you didn't watch it.
Yeah. There's nothing cyberpunk here. Nothing at all.
Did he watch cutscenes of Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever?
No, because then he
thought that was it.
All right, this last one comes from yet another person who didn't want to watch an anime film. Max Colville of Paste Magazine.
Max.
So his no. This is his food magazine.
Damn it, you beat me to it.
It's a copy paste magazine.
Max Colville of I Eat Paste Magazine. Despite all its talent.
Well, he must be getting the good shit.
Despite all its talent, Bubble never amounts to something wholly unique, falling into predictable tropes and a narrative that ends up being a little too self-serious for a parkour adventure with Bubbles.
Did he put unique falling as one word?
He did.
Yes.
Apparently, he's an authority on parkour adventures with Bubbles and what they are supposed to be.
Yeah.
I doubt he's done parkour of any kind.
Also, yeah, I'm going to assume there was some issue with pulling that out, because if you're any kind of professional and you fail to recognize that you didn't even put an appropriate space between two different words that are not meant to be conjoined, you should be just shoved down the steepest cliff.
If only there was like some sort of AI
program in your resignation papers.
Turn in your last paycheck and feel shame.
Yes. Just say, hey, Mom and Pa, I wrote shitty anime reviews. Are you proud of me yet?
All right. Well, we squeezed almost an hour out of that. Now let's talk about a really good film. Let's talk about Belle. Belle.
What's a good movie?
The Dragon and the Freckled Princess is a 2021 Japanese animated science fantasy film written and directed by Mamoru Hosoda and produced by Studio Chizu. The story is inspired by the 1756 French fairy tale Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, this is
tale as old as time, David.
This is the second film ripping off a fairy tale and involving singing.
I did that purposely.
Well, there was no Gaston, so it was 0 out of 10.
No one cheats like Gaston. No.
Yeah, Jonathan does not have a song.
No one spits like Gaston. Right,
We're all just grateful Justin didn't get a song.
The story is inspired by the 1756 French fairy tale Beauty and the Beast by Jeanne-Marie Leprince de Beaumont, with Hosoda taking cues from the 1991 Disney animated movie.
That's very generous, like ripping it off frame by frame.
I was going to say.
Just missing talking teacups.
Just a few visual bits of
you got talking pixies instead. But
yeah, true. The film received its world premiere on July 15, 2021 at the 2021 Cannes Film Festival, where it was well received by critics with a standing ovation. Woo! That lasted 14 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me?
Here's what happened, Mark.
A giant circle jerk?
No, we have all the people who saw the original Disney Beauty and the Beast in theaters have retired or are dead. And the ones who went to the Cannes Film Festival didn't see the live action version, so this was all new to them.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that tracks. I'm with you now, brother. It was released theatrically in Japan on July 16, 2021. G Kids has licensed the film in North America with a nationwide release of January 14, 2022, and previews in select IMAX theaters on January 12th. While Animated Limited released the film in the United Kingdom on February 4th, 2022. Belle is the third highest grossing Japanese film of 2021, accounting for 6.53 billion yen in box office rankings as of December 12th, 2021. David, have you been able to rewatch this since you saw it in theater?
No, I was only able to watch it in the theaters.
Okay. What was your before
this
Robert goes?
This must have been a trip in the theaters, man. There's some gorgeous stuff.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
I just wanted to get like really, really quick. Like, don't go in depth. Just initial reactions when you first saw it in the theater, David, and then Mathew.
Yeah, I liked it. Again, like very well animated, very gorgeous, a phenomenal soundtrack. Yeah, like it is a film that benefits from the big screen treatment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and enough of it had a lasting enough impact that you feel like you didn't need to rewatch it again before you talked about it today.
It was more accessibility.
Okay,
it was just starting on VOD like today. Yeah. So
I literally bought it in the middle of the night and watched it like throughout the day while I was at work, which is gonna definitely bleed into how I'm gonna review this film.
I have been listening to the soundtrack almost nonstop since then.
Have you really?
Have you really?
I love the soundtrack.
All you had to do was ask. I could help you find this stuff.
I understand, Captain Yarface, but did you when you were watching it at home?
People that the English soundtrack and the Japanese soundtrack are two separate soundtracks.
Yes.
So were you twirling about your house while you were listening to the soundtrack, David, in your yellow dress?
No, it was a pink dress, by the way.
Yeah, I'll have you know.
No, it was more just like when I'm out and about, I'll usually put music on and wear earphones or something, and while I'm running my errands.
All right. So, Mathew, you saw it in the theaters in January as well?
I did, yes.
I mean, when you walked out of the theater, you threw your popcorn away, you took a deep breath, and you thought?
I thought, I will get to the problems later when we talk about it.
Yes.
But outside of that, I thought it was nicely done. It was nicely animated. They did what they wanted to do with terms of music, because that's what, or Suzu or Belle, that was her thing, like having the confidence of singing, especially after, her dead mother and all that. So that worked. They, again, with the music in there, they did what they needed to do for it, and it excelled. Soundtrack is probably one of my favorite movie-wise, for sure. I love both the English and the Japanese variations of them. Animation's really nice. I said I'm not gonna nitpick just yet.
Yeah. I just like when you walked out of the theater, just how you felt.
Robert. I felt satisfied.
Okay.
And it's one of those. This is something you can show to people that aren't into anime.
Yeah.
Like the English version, and they would enjoy it.
I think that tracks.
It's very Ghibli like that.
Yeah, I got that Ghibli vibe, just not overall quality wise, but
what's the other Studio Ghibli movie I'm thinking of that isn't Spirited Away?
Could you give me a plot synopsis? Or
there's a lot of them, so
there's a lot.
Yeah, you're going to be,
and there's some that's not by Miyazaki, so.
I'm gonna look it up.
Hang on. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
No.
Princess Mononoke.
That's the one. Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Yeah, that's another one I got dragged to the theater to see by somebody who liked anime in my youth, and I was probably trying to sleep with.
That was Miyazaki's first retirement picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's retired more times than Terry Funk.
God damn it, you beat me to it.
Forever.
You're a whore.
But no, this is definitely something you can definitely.
When anime fans and wrestling fans unite,
and they would love it.
All right, Robert, take it away.
So the basic. So Belle follows primarily the adventures of our protagonist Suzu, a young woman who used to be into music and performing and singing, and then her mother drowned, rescuing another child from a river flood.
Tsunami type.
Again, there's a river and it's rising, and there's a poor child trapped, and she goes to rescue them. The child's rescued. Her mother perishes. She loses her ability to sing in public or in private. She and her father develop a bit of a strained relationship because the death of a family member will do that to you. To try and get her out of her funk, one of her friends encourages her to try out the new not quite virtual reality, but the new
Facebook Meta.
Social media app, basically.
whatever it happens to be. We'll all be in the metaverse soon enough, right?
We're already there.
Some variation on that. It's called You. And she does so, and it turns out that when she is in You, Suzu doesn't have nearly as many problems singing. Don't do it, Mark. Don't do it. Just don't.
I see you.
So she sings, and the way that in a very true to life segment, she does one thing on social media, goes to sleep, and wakes up to something having exploded.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
Believe it or not, that did happen to me once. I'm trying to. My goal is now to make Mark have an aneurysm as he tries to contain himself. Just
Crazy.
I'm gonna see how many more times I can do this. Supporting Suzu are a few of her friends. Again, one of them who is your standard technical mathematical genius. She has a friend who she's got a bit of a crush on. One of their friends who's a big enthusiast about canoeing.
Oh, he was a bro.
That was my favorite part of the whole movie.
Oh yeah,
the guy wandering around.
He
Going,
was
"Want to
so
canoe with
supportive."
me?" As he's like helming a Klingon bat'leth. It was fantastic.
Look, we've all been there. We've all been. Won't you please listen to my podcast?
Uh-huh. You know what I do now? I just take people's phones and I subscribe for them.
It's a good plan.
I should do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just start grabbing people's phones in public.
Okay, give me your
People love
Spotify. I'll got you.
Yeah.
We'll hook you up. So again, there's a decent enough supporting cast. Some of the names are going to escape me, but Suzu becomes a bit famous as a singer under her avatar Belle. Well, during one of her concerts, it is crashed by the Beast, a large dragon avatar character who is
edgy Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah. So Shadow, the ultimate specimen.
The ultimate specimen, says my son.
He winds up crashing the concert. We're introduced to the theoretical law enforcement for this social media app who really just
I'll get to that later.
Who wield the power of doxing.
Sponsors.
Yes.
More sponsors.
They've got a lot of sponsors, and one of them has a thing that if he shoots you with this ray of light, your avatar goes away and you are yourself. So again, the whole world can then harass you. People don't like the Beast because
he's ugly.
That they never give an adequate reason for the
They
antipathy
don't
towards
actually.
him. It's a real problem.
He kind of just goes in and beats people up and starts.
He's an edgy teen that needs to get his frustrations out. That's really it.
Yeah. Well, children love him because he's a power fantasy, and I'm sure this isn't a commentary on the current state of entertainment media.
Keki.
Thank you. Belle, however, she is intrigued by this Beast because plot. She spends time looking for him and encounters a small angel avatar who winds up being the Beast's brother. She meets him. She kind of slowly earns his trust. There's a bit of back and forth. There's a hilarious bit about one of her friends in school who is a fairly popular athletic boy, holds her hand at one point, and we get a hilarious war game bit where they try to put out the fires of, wait a minute, is Suzu dating? I laughed at that segment so hard. That was so good.
Was that the Risk bit where the coins are flipping? Okay.
That was great. Anyway, everyone's trying to figure out who the Beast is because, again, a bunch of the people in the universe want to dox him because he needs a
timeout.
He's a loose cannon who plays by his own rules.
Disturbing the peace and interrupting other people's.
Yeah. He's kind of a nuisance, and we want to deal with him. But, we're not actually a social media platform, so we can't ban people.
They didn't call Mark Zuckerberg?
Well,
Elon Musk.
it's established that
It's like, what's your style?
well, they established that U is like a free and open platform. So yeah, there isn't really any.
So how did the security guys get all that stuff?
So hang on, hang on. We'll yell about the world building in a minute. Hang on.
Okay.
So
Please,
anyway, again,
someone text me.
Belle and the Beast grow a little bit closer. She wants to find out who he is, both for protection and to satiate her own curiosity. They eventually do through a combination of their friends and a little bit of detective work and whatnot. And it turns out that the Beast's real person is a 14-year-old named Kei who's being abused by his father and is shielding his brother from said abuse. And and they're eventually able to make a public complaint about the abuse these children are suffering because they live stream part of it without the father knowing. And I'm gonna have to rely on someone who actually knows the law in Japan more than I do. Apparently, you can't. The police are not allowed to do anything until at least 48 hours have passed after a complaint's been lodged. Is this a real thing? Anybody here know if that's a real thing or not? I just have to ask.
Like what?
Yeah, I am not sure.
Okay.
God damn it.
It could just be a plot device. Could be a real thing. Okay. Don't know. I will leave it I will accept the in-world explanation.
Yep.
But Suzu decides that she can't leave these poor kids helpless. So what is she, 16? Is she about to graduate?
Yeah. 16.
16, 17-year-old kid goes a long ways from
the kid could have been dead by then.
Like the distance she travels by train and the speed at which she does it is a bit comical when you look at how big Japan is.
Yeah. I've been there. I know.
Like 5 hours.
Yeah, like
our train ride.
You're basically going from like what would be the American equivalent that people would understand? Like Los Angeles to San Francisco, maybe, or San Diego, like going by train, like or San Diego to not San Francisco, like San Diego to Sacramento.
Right.
Like huge distance.
Yeah.
Hell, from Tokyo to Osaka, that's like almost 12 hours.
Yeah.
No, it's 4 hours.
Apparently, in the movie, yes.
Anyway, she does arrive.
So, Loki.
Yeah. She arrives. She's able to locate where they are because, again, detective work and whatnot, and a little bit of plot convenience. She winds up shielding them from their father's physical abuse. And here's the only thing I have to say about this. People, if you're going to try and help someone who's being abused by their parents, one, I applaud your bravery. Two, do not expect them to be cowed by the righteousness, indignation in your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not how that works.
No, they will not. They will not stop.
Like, I brought this child into this world. I'll beat him if I want to.
In the neck. So something.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works.
And he just walked away.
He fell down and then scurried off. Anyway.
Like, okay, when she's gone, they're probably gonna get their asses kicked when she's not there.
Yeah, the resolution to this is very poor. But she defends them. Their father runs away. Her quasi boyfriend back home decides, well, you don't need my protection anymore. You seem to have figured yourself out. The emotional core of this is she was resentful of her mother losing her life trying to protect a stranger, and now having defended someone she only met briefly online because it's the right thing to do, she does understand a little bit more and is able to kind of process her grief in a healthier way. And she decides, and she rediscovers her ability to sing, and there's a few other emotional beats along the road we can touch on, but the kids wind up being safe from their father, theoretically. One would hope.
That we've seen.
That we see. Suzu rejoins a choir with a bunch of her mother's friends.
A bunch of MILFs.
At least two. Again, they all graduate from high school, and everyone looks to move forward with their lives again in a happier and healthier place. She mends her relationship with her father and Lobster.
David, I'm just going to come right out and say this now. I want to say, because I really only have a couple of things to say about this, but I want to start off with this. The flashback, David, where the mom leaves the child shoreside and runs to save another child who seems to be stranded on an island of rocks surrounded by a puddle. I look, it's a gorgeously animated movie, and I especially enjoyed where they would shift to a degree in the animation where we go from real life into the Uza Uba, whatever it's called, into the U, yeah. You could definitely they were definitely trying to ape some of the Disney animation, especially with close-up shots of Belle's face. But this one particular scene, I have some issues with, and I don't know. It feels like the story they're telling is mom dove into the briny deep to save this child and was overwhelmed and drowned, which is part of what sets up the trauma for our lead character. Except they shot it in a way, and it was animated in such a way where you never get a scope of what's going on in the water. So it seems like she drowned in a puddle, and I'm not entirely sure how they couldn't get the kid out of there when it seems like, like, oh my God, this child's in danger. And it's just like she's standing on like a rock pile in the middle of the water. First of all, if the water was that deep, how did you get there? Like, none of that sequence, because of the way it's depicted, like, I buy it as part of the story, but it's not depicted well enough or vibrant enough for me to buy that situation caused that woman to die, leaving her child abandoned. I'm frustrated and annoyed by that entire scene, David.
Yeah, I got nothing. It's just
I think it was a high current, but again, it's more of how she got there. If she got stuck on a tree, like holding on a branch, I would buy that. But there's just one circle.
I don't think, like I say, it's not really important the mechanics of how her mother died. It's the important thing.
It is that she's traumatized.
Well, no, hang on. Let me say this. Let me get this out. Film, as I've said many times over the last 8 years of doing this, film is a visual medium. And while, yes, you're sometimes limited by the age in which you were creating the film, Terminator pulling his eye out and fixing it looks all goofy as shit because it was made in the early 80s and we just didn't have those kinds of special effects back then. I get that. But I mean, this is an animated project in 2021. How do you not show effectively such an important part of the movie? And that's more of what I'm asking. Like, and I really want David to answer this. We all don't step on him, but it was one of those things where clearly it was an important part, and they went for I feel like they were going for, we'll do close-ups. We're gonna shoot this all artsy. We're gonna go for close-ups. We're not gonna really give perspective, except that I don't then understand what happened. I was able to glean from it what happened because I'm not dumb, but I don't think as much as this is a lauded film which earned lots of prizes, I don't think that shot was particularly effective in the way that they were going for.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a Roland Emmerich film, so I understand.
Well, hang on. To that point, here's the biggest problem with how they did
still
that.
Standing. Was there really a disaster?
I don't know. The moon is a superstructure. The biggest problem with that is they decided to do the water. This movie does a really good job of blending 2D with 3D. Yeah, a similar thing that Bubble does. Like, when you get studios that have really got a handle on that, it opens up the film in a very, very impressive way. The problem here is they did the water as computer generated, and it looks and made it flat. So it doesn't have a lot of life to it. There's not a lot of sense. I'm agreeing with you, but
yeah,
you wanted to know why. I'm going into why here.
Yes. I was reaffirming.
Again, the decision to CG it and to have it be as flat as it is, it takes away a lot of the sense of danger and whatnot that you could do if you were doing it more hand-drawn. So I don't know if that was a budgetary constraint. I don't know if that was a time constraint, to the extent that those are different things. But I ultimately, if you wanted to look at the why that kind of doesn't quite work as well as others, I think it was that decision to have the water be CG'd, and it just robs that sequence of a lot of life and force.
All right, back to you and then Mathew, David. David first, then Mathew. What works? What doesn't work about this film, craft-wise?
I would say everything other than the Beauty and the Beast stuff I thought worked really, really good for me.
Isn't that like a third of the film?
Yeah, like the middle third.
Okay.
Like, I thought like plot wise, like they did a really good job setting up everything. Like, yeah, you see, we established that Suzu and her mom bonded over music. So when her mom passed away, she couldn't really express herself through music anymore because of the trauma. Like they show her going to karaoke with her friends, and they try to get her to sing, and she's like, "No, I can't do it." Even when she's with the older ladies, like the neighborhood, just the words escaping, but the singing troupe. She doesn't participate in any of the singing. She just sits under the xylophone and mopes. But it shows off where she's coming from, and then once she gets into you, and they also mention that you don't get to generate your own avatar. It sort of scans you and uses biometrics to generate one for you, which I thought was really unfair because Suzu gets turned into a total babe, and everyone else is like some sort of goofy cartoon character.
She pulled up the class photo. Like, oh, my friend, this girl's hot. Well, you're going to be her now.
That seems like a recipe for hurting someone's feelings. Like, wait a minute, why am I a rock troll?
Yeah,
we find out mine would be.
When it scans her like school photo, and and she initially thinks that, I think because she was standing next to Ruka, the sort of super popular girl.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, it scanned Ruka by mistake, but then it puts the freckles on, and Suzu has freckles, and no one else does in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is why it's in the title of the film, The Freckled Princess. So that was like, oh, okay, I guess it is me. And but the music, like every time Belle sings pretty much is like everything just stops, and it's just these beautiful, haunting, intense songs. Like especially I think Utayo, the first song she sings in You, that one's just really just beautiful and haunting. It's a really great song that kind of got me hooked. Lend Me Your Voice, the sort of romantic, not tale as old as time song that she does with the dragon. That was it was okay. I did like how they used that because he was the only person that she sang the song to. They were able to figure out who he is from hearing his little brother humming the song. I mean, I kind of impressed that you could hear that live stream on the internet. Everything else that happens on the internet, but okay, it kind of makes sense. And at the end where she gets Jonathan to intentionally dox her because was it her friend? Was it Shino or Shinobu? Says, the only way you're going to convince this kid to let you in that you're really Belle is if you sing as yourself. And so she goads Jonathan into shooting her the doxing ray, and then she's Suzu in You with pretty much the whole world looking at her, and then she starts to sing Million Miles Away, and you can hear it in her voice how it's like cracking and hesitating, like you can tell she's really struggling at the start of the song to sing this, and you just it almost breaks your heart hearing it. And then as she goes on, she picks up more. We do Hosoda's classic, like the whole internet joins in to help you. He did this in Summer Wars. He did it in the Digimon movie. I think he did it in a Pepsi advert when he was just getting started out. Like, it's his one trick, but damn it, he's really good at it.
And make it work.
I was gonna say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. So that all worked really good for me. And you see how Suzu's initial curiosity about the beast. I mean, they call him the dragon, but it's the beast. Girls kind of like a bad boy, right? So you kind of have her getting interested in him and trying to understand what's going on with him and help him out. And then, like by the end of the film, she's able to sort of stand up to their dad and protect them. Because they even have that bit where he says, like, you say, let me help you, but everyone says, let me help you, and nothing ever gets done.
So why are you different?
Social services come. Dad says, oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. I've just been under a lot of stress. And then he keeps on doing it. Like
boy, did that resonate, man. I mean, I've never been abused emotionally or physically, but I've seen it enough that like when he's going on that spiel, like that speaks to an unbelievably sad truth about the human condition right now.
Yeah.
Now, probably through generations.
Yeah. So when you have Suzu actually go and use herself as a human shield against the dad, he scratches her face once and then kind of goes like, maybe beating up a 16-year-old girl in the public in the middle of the street might not be a good idea.
Yeah, but by God, I'm going to keep trying.
Nobody else was there. Like, there's no witnesses.
Yeah,
Yeah, like everyone is high, like, ah, shit, he's at it again.
yeah. So, but yeah, like she actually puts her life on the line to do that, and I think that signifies her growth. Other things I'll say, like the film is gorgeous. Like the bits in You, I wasn't so big on the design of You. It looked a bit bland in the background, the architecture, but it's certainly using 3D cell shaded CG for the You stuff, and then more cell shaded 2D or sorry, not cell shaded, but traditional 2D animation for real life. I thought was a good idea. The bits where they're actually in Japan, this movie looks more like Japan than any other anime I've seen. Like, like I've been in trains like that. I've seen houses like that. The school didn't look pristine and clean because most Japanese schools are kind of dirty. It's the dirt in the fields. They track it inside and it just gets everywhere. There's nothing to be done. But it actually felt like a real lived-in version of Japan. The train station, I've seen train stations. They even had a lot of like the corporate sponsorship, like actual name brands were featured in this. Like, you got to see their phones were Apple phones. They were in a Lawson's department store, and it was the full logo, not changed or hidden or anything, which I thought was interesting. Or was it a Family Mart? Anyway, one of the two. And so it just looked great. And like the scene in the train station, I thought was just probably the highlight of the film. Like when
she gets her friends to confess their love for each
Yeah,
other.
when
That
when
was so funny.
her and it's like, hey, can we talk? And she's like, there's this guy I really like, and she thinks it's Shinobu, her childhood friend, that she kind of thinks is cute, but no, she actually wants Shinjiro, the crazy kayak club captain.
On his own, he qualified for the national.
Yeah, no, I'll say he's a guy. He's a guy you want as a best friend.
Yeah, but it's just,
that's insanely difficult physically. I mean, my dad almost qualified for the Olympics in canoeing when he was a younger man, and it's really hard to do that.
Just the way like the background never moves in that scene, and it's all just the characters moving in front of it. It's like a old 90s adventure game almost.
Yeah.
And just the way that, like first, Ruka slinks back because she's too embarrassed, and then Shinjiro, he slinks back because he doesn't think this is real, and they come back, and then they start like, oh yeah, I guess I like you, I kind of like you too. And then they start talking. It's like, well, what kind of music do you like? It's like, well, I really like listening to Belle. Oh, me too. And the look on Suzu's face is just priceless.
That was so good.
Yeah, and she's just slinking back slowly, like nothing to see here, people. Just going away. It was just very well directed. The only real things I really didn't really get into was like when they just do the straight ripoff Beauty and the Beast stuff, like the scene where he screams at Belle to run out to go away. And he does just like a perfect rotoscope version of the, face palm that the Beast did. Like, I shouldn't have said that. And then, of course, he has to go and save her. That was just like, okay, you're just doing Beauty and the Beast. I get it. But I was thankful that unlike Bubble, like once they establish who the Beast really is, it goes in a completely different direction. Like it is not Beauty and the Beast. They just sort of lean on that for the second act.
Okay. Go ahead, Mathew. I know you had some difficulties with this movie, so what'd you lay into them?
My issue was the actual U world. It looked nice, but it's just more of the security, how to get this docs and stuff. Like, I don't think anyone would have that type of thing. I don't think even like their government was like even like monitor it type of thing. It's just like there's just no fucking way.
Okay.
And it's just log out. That's all you gotta do.
That's like
They're
my
coming
dad.
after you. Log out.
Well, but it's funny you mentioned that because my dad has always said, whenever you have these movies about like killer AI and whatnot, he was like, "Here's a thought: unplug it."
Yeah, but I'm saying like you are a user, you are logged into this. So what is stopping you from logging out?
Right.
Well,
I was gonna say it's not like a Sword Art Online thing where they're all trapped inside the game or like.
Oh,
Tron
you
or
would
whatever.
know of all the things you would know Sword Art Online.
Okay, hang on.
Shit. I'm
My
sorry. I
friend,
did not like
my
Sword Art.
friend, who I'm trying to bond with, I asked her, "What's the animes are you watching these days?" She's like, "Sword Art Online." So I gave it a shot. Excuse the fuck out of me that I didn't choose the cool one. I'm watching one that a friend is watching, so I can have something to talk with her about.
Okay.
Oh, that friendship is over.
Jonathan and the moderators are not like the real world police. They're just a self-appointed like moderator group within you. That
Like, who the fuck are they? That type of face. Like, it's the power of sponsors. We got
they're people that just want to go and police everyone else's fun. I think Belle even gets up in his face about that when he's interrogating her. It's like it's like you're not trying to protect us, you're trying to control us.
Yeah, and like the higher ups are just like, I'll allow it. Cool.
Well,
no. The higher ups are like, well, they're here, so we don't have to ban your subreddit.
You
were saying
right.
Matthew.
That's fair. I wasn't crazy about the Beauty and the Beast stuff either. Like, if you want to keep that guy as an ugly dragon or whatever, fine. Just the very stuff that was exact, I could take it or leave it. I did like this. I did love "Lend Me Your Voice." I think that was my favorite song of it. Like, not in a romance, as it's more of a comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. Which one did you like more, Belle or Bubble?
For me, while you're thinking, I would definitely say Belle was the one I enjoyed far more.
Belle,
all got that impression.
I think Belle a bit.
Okay, really?
I think Belle.
Like you
I think
more
Belle
about Belle than you did Bubble.
That's the thing. But despite the issues, I think it's just something that have a better influence, or something that people would more relate to than Bubble.
I think Belle has more substance to it.
Too.
We've got issues, but Belle feels like a much more fully realized and fully thought out story.
Like, it's something that it was made to be a movie, and not something. Oh, this could be stretched out to like a 1-season thing. No, it was fine with the length of it. Was
Bubble was Little Mermaid and parkour.
Yeah, parkour.
Well, I think the word that Robert was getting at was Bubble is a slight movie where Belle has more heft to it.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting. Like, the issues and all, it's still something that you could enjoy more.
Okay.
Like, in terms of both 2D and 3D type animation, the music, which was the main focus, they excelled at that. I'm not gonna doubt. I'm not gonna question that at all. I think another issue, like, I think the final song where they're all doing the whole La La thing, I probably would have cut that like a
million miles away.
Yeah, that one. I would say I would have cut that near end like by like a minute. I think that went on a little too long. And what was with that girl that was jealous of Belle in the beginning? You never heard from her again until near the end.
Yeah. Well, even I thought that was interesting because at the beginning, actually, when Suzu goes to the karaoke place with her friends, they're singing one of her songs.
Yeah.
I think her name is Peggy Sue is the name of the character. And then when Belle blows up and goes viral, Peggy Sue's like, oh, she's she's made by like a team of people. She's got producers and agents. She's not really a real artist and that sort of thing. Yeah. And yet only at the end where Peggy Sue's sort of been dethroned and when Suzu is revealed, she's like, oh, she's just a girl.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah, it's just like they did nothing with her. Like, just that beginning part and then near the end, it's like, okay. Yeah, cool.
She was really supposed to
How good of you to join us at the end. We're like, oh, change of heart all of a sudden.
Yeah, but I always like it when they do that sort of like the bitchy character turns out to just be an actual person.
Yeah.
With an emotional intelligence.
Right.
All right, Robert Winfree, your thoughts on Belle?
I agree with everyone about the quality of the animation. The stuff in You, some of it's a little bit janky. Most of it's really, really good. The stuff in Japan, I like that they were able to have the two very distinctive styles. So when you're in the real world versus when you're in You, because if everything looks the same, sometimes it's not always as you need some kind of clear-cut point of reference about when we're in reality versus cyberspace. And that doesn't have to be an entirely different artistic style, but the fact that it is kind of helps. There's never any confusion about that. I'm with you guys about the story. Again, the stuff that's really aping Beauty and the Beast is a little bit much.
A little on the nose.
Little bit.
Right.
There's a few sequences that drag just a bit too long and not in the good way. I wonder if they couldn't have trimmed a bit here and there.
Yeah, they definitely could have cut a little bit of here and there.
But I don't mean this as an insult, and I don't mean this just because they clearly copied a lot of Beauty and the Beast. This is a very Disney movie.
Oh yeah, that's why I said I think kids who don't even know about anime would enjoy this.
Yeah, and again, that's a very deliberate choice in this instance. Your characters are well fleshed out. Everyone's got a good, solid emotional arc. I don't have a whole lot of. Again, I agree with some of the complaints that have been raised. This is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. And if you stood clapping for this thing for 14 minutes, you need a life.
Yeah, like, no, like I wouldn't have either.
So
I mean, again, if everyone who made it is there, like, do I think this is worthy of applause? Yeah, it is. This is definitely a very good movie. But a big like you're the same idiots who gave Venom a standing ovation. Like your opinions do not matter.
So real quick, it was nominated for Best Animated Feature for the Detroit Film Critics Society, Best Animated Feature, Chicago Film Critics, Best Animated Feature, Los Angeles Film Critics, Best Animated Feature, Florida Film Critics, who stands on that board is a bunch of alligators.
Have you not
Have they
applied
not watched
to
the Silent Voice or
Robert?
Have you not applied to be on the board of the Florida Film Critics yet?
I'll be working on that after this podcast. San Francisco, the Austin Film Critics, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards for Best Film. And then at the Annie Awards, hey, do you know anything about the Annie Awards there, Mathew?
No, but go ahead and tell me.
All righty. Well, this was nominated for Best Animated Feature, Outstanding Achievement in Animated Effects, Outstanding Achievement for Directing in an Animated Feature, Outstanding Achievement for Writing in an Animated Feature, Outstanding Achievement for Production Design. At the Japan Academy Film Prize, it was nominated for Animation of the Year, but it won Outstanding Achievement in Music, David. How about that? And then for the VFX Japan Awards, it won an Excellence Award in the Animated Theatrical Film category. So it was nominated for a whole bunch of Film Critic Association awards, but it only won two. One for the Japan Academy for Music, and one for the VFX Japan Awards. Anything else, Robert, about this before we move on?
No, this is a perfectly serviceable film. Parts of it are very beautiful. It's got great music. Your kids will certainly enjoy it. I mean, like Matt said, you don't need to be a big anime fan to enjoy this movie. So.
Yeah, this one seems to have broad appeal.
Yeah,
I would think.
Stuff again, I would recommend people they want to watch. What should my kids watch for an animated? Like, I would tell them Belle.
I imagine that your daughter's going to enjoy it when you sit down to watch it with her.
Yeah, I told my wife to tell her about it, and she was too busy getting ready for other stuff tonight to bother to tell her. So I had to tell her when I got home. So who knows if she'll watch it or not? But we all watched Bubble together. We all watched Bubble.
All right.
We watched that this week.
You would like Pompo the Cinephile. That came out last week in theaters, and that's coming out in July. It talks about movies, like actual films and filmmaking. So if you get, I think it comes out in July and video on demand. So I would definitely recommend that.
All right. Well, that brings us to the once again for the people playing at home, the critical review. Ba ba ba.
All right.
Fairy tales can come true.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This second critical review is brought to you by Grammarly. For you listeners of Damn You Hollywood, part of the American Whammy Productions, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes. In fact, if you're trying to call Jason Teasley the prodigal son and you spell it protocol, it'll say, no, stupid. It's prodigal, not protocol. Except if you're me, and then you just stay with protocol because you don't want to admit you're wrong. Superfluous. Grammarly correct.
Oh! I know what you were trying to say there, and that hurt.
Harry tried to correct me on that one, and now I won't let it go. Also, biopic. Anyway. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network, soon to be American Whammy. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free. All right. Well, critics and fans alike love this movie. It's absolutely perfect. There's nothing to talk about here. A remarkable story brought to life with dazzling animation. Belle finds writer-director Mamoru Hosoda setting a brilliant new benchmark, and the audience says, I liked it too. And I can see Russia from my house. Beautiful to watch, as well as to listen to. Belle is a treat for animation fans.
Let's go see the negatives. There's 6 of them.
Yeah, really. All right. Felipe Freitas of Always Good Movie says, more humdrum than fascinating. The film is nothing more than a soppy teen pleaser.
Oh,
Ooh, how dare they
yeah.
make movies for girls?
Child abuse is basically pleasing for teens,
Yeah.
Well, look, the Twilight franchise was a big hit, and there's so much abuse in that, it's not even funny.
I know. The fans wanted to kill me after I was doing commentary in the theaters for it.
Carson Tamar of Clapper.
Clap off.
Nice animation.
All right, continue.
Nice animation and songs just are not enough to feel like a success anymore. And Belle ultimately fails to accomplish anything more.
Well, at least he got to check his phone for 90 minutes.
Yeah, he only looked for the songs. Did they? All right, song's over. Back to the phone.
Yeah. Again, if you're not aware of what this movie is trying to do on an emotional level, I just can't help you because they're not subtle about it.
Yeah.
Alan Zilberman of Spectrum Culture.
Oh, Spectrum. I hate that.
And by Spectrum, I assume he means autism. It ultimately
he's not a Sonic fan, probably. Stop it.
It ultimately lands as an interesting experiment, one that goes into too many meandering directions, and that it ends on any satisfying note is a minor miracle.
Okay, no. Well, let's back up just a second on this.
Hold the bus.
If you can't see the value in more ensemble style storytelling, that's just sad. Like, you must hate so many movies that are not A to B to C. Like, this poor guy must hate Caddyshack. He really must just loathe that.
Oh boy, I tell you.
Because it goes in so many all these asides with Bill Murray, they don't lead to much of anything, and they don't add anything to the narrative heft of the story, and I don't quite understand what they're trying to do with all these different characters that show up.
I bet you he was telling the girl to get over her dead mother.
Look, we've all got a dead parent. Get over it.
Yeah,
so at least you got a dad,
Yeah, the film wraps up. I think most of its story is pretty good. Like, Suzu gets better. It seems like her childhood friend is potentially going to.
I will admit, I was cracking jokes with the dad. Like, I wish I had a dad to talk to. He was like, hey there. Oh my god, it's you. Nothing. I don't want nothing from you.
So, Mathew, you have to understand that being on this show and having done this bit for nigh on 8 years, give or take, there are certain critics that I will read purposefully. There are certain critics that I have come to bully. And you should be a star and not a bully. But I can't help myself. And here is somebody whom...
Well, look, sometimes you just got to draw a line in the sand. And you got to ask yourself, what am I willing to put up with today?
Well,
it's not fucking this.
There is this There's this particular fella who I have made it my goal in life to bully out of the movie industry.
I did it to Ryback until he blocked me.
Nice.
And yet Mark still won't harass this gentleman on Twitter. Like, it's not really bullying unless he's aware of it, Mark.
Yeah, unless he blocks you on Twitter.
It's like a Facebook stalk kind of a thing. All right, Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies. We hates you, Kevin Cars. We hates you. It's a beautifully.
He's the kind of guy who would be a guest on our show.
Thanks, Kevin Carr, for being. That would be hysterical. Like if he actually knew, like, and he became on anyway. Like, we have Kevin Carr from Fat Guy at the Movies. Yeah, fuck you, pal. That's what I came on here.
We have this fucking fat fuck right here.
It's a beautifully animated movie. I applaud it for trying to deconstruct social media and the impact it has on teenagers, even if it is a bit clunky in the process.
Yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with the back half of that. the commentary on social media is actually not clunky in this movie, believe it or not. Like, there's clunky things about it emotionally, but it's not that. But what it discusses when it comes to the atomization of society, the way people become disenfranchised and disillusioned, that's actually not a clunky bit of the writing. It flows fairly well.
Yeah, it's pretty clear Hosoda knows and understands the internet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this one, and this feels like the "I can see Russia from my house" criticism. This is
right.
actually a fresh review, but bear with me. Ryan Silberstein of Movie Jawn, Jawn, Movie Jawn. Belle draws on Western stories to tell a postmodern fable about healing, and I can see Russia from my house.
Draws on a Western story.
Pretty much just the one. Yeah. Again, that's a very unhelpful review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Urbansich of JM Movies with a U. I guess there are worse ways for a kid to learn about the dangers of the digital world than by getting a Beauty and the Beast take with it, too. Still, must it be as unnecessarily long as it is complex?
You know, I could traumatize a kid really quick with this banned anime movie that I have.
Yeah,
called Shoujo Tsubaki. And trust me, you don't want to watch it. But I will send it to your kids to traumatize them. If you want something.
Hey, it's this asshole again. Mark Dudgesick of Mark Reviews Movies. We keep waiting for some connective tissue to give the narrative a firm form. That doesn't happen, which is unfortunate. Wait, hang on. Ryan Myers of the San Jose Mercury News, who once reported that the CIA brought crack to Los Angeles, their whole thing, their pull from their article, it's terrific. Why aren't we on fucking Rotten Tomatoes? God damn it.
Have you ever reported on the CIA trying to introduce illicit drugs to the United States?
Not yet.
I mean, define reporting.
Broke the story in a meaningful way rather than 20 years later go the war on drugs is bad?
I was like 5 at the time. Give me a break.
Look, that guy is clearly on here because of, 1, the outlet he writes for, and 2, he only writes for that outlet because of legacy. He doesn't care about movies.
Hey, Mathew, I'm going to read this next one because I want Robert to see if Robert will have an on-air conniption. Okay?
Okay. All right.
He'll know why I'm reading it, but I want you to experience a Robism.
Okay.
Peter DeBruge of Variety, top critic.
Oh, that useless rag of toilet paper.
Anime master Mamoru Hosoda imagined another forward-thinking virtual world using it as the backdrop for an empowering musical fairy tale.
I would not trust this man to lick stamps.
You will get a paper cut on said stamps.
Chris Mello of In Review Online. Frustrating. Then, is that none of this is very interesting, even if Hosoda's measured take is better than the technophobic finger-wagging most films about social media indulge in.
You wanted to write about social media and Elon Musk, and you didn't want to review this movie.
You know what? I hope you get a paper cut on your balls and they fall off.
All right, we're out of rotten reviews, so I'm just gonna read this one to call it. Oh God, yeah, because I just hate this guy. This is yet another guy I want to push down a flight of stairs.
Robbie Collin.
That's the one.
All right.
Look, he just looks such a.
He's got that smug face already.
He really did. He has punchy face.
He really does have punchy face. I'm looking at him like, man, you and Damien Sandow, like, you got the same face.
Robbie Collins, Daily Telegraph UK top critic. Belle is a beautifully observed, dazzlingly animated sci-fi fairy tale about our online, offline double lives. It's Hosoda's finest film since 2012's Wolf Children, and perhaps his best to date.
I
think Wolf Children's better.
Kind of can't believe that no one even dropped any comparisons to Summer Wars, which is basically the proto Belle minus the music.
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't put it together until you brought it up.
That would require these people to be well read in the genre, and they're clearly not.
Well, folks, that is our Damn You Hollywood featuring our guest panelist, Mathew Spornification.
Sarpraicone.
Thank you, Sarpraicone.
Arigato.
Domo arigato. Did you have fun, Matthew? Would you come back?
I actually had a great time.
I'm glad, even though I can't remember your name from 1 hour to the next. Cool. If we do another animated feature here, or there's something else you have a passion about, now we have the open lines of communication. Welcome to the fold, Matthew.
Yes, I love it.
One of us.
Welcome, yes.
Welcome to all the other captured. Welcome to the basement where I keep all my children.
You don't. It better not be my basement.
I'm in danger. Anyway, so that is, like I said, our review of Belle and Bubbles. Next week we return to our regularly scheduled programming. It'll be myself, David, Alexis, who, despite the fact that I was reserving a spot for one of Jeff's people, I never actually got off my ass to invite them. So Alexis jumped back in that spot. So it'll be myself, Alexis, David, and Robert yelling for 3 hours about Doctor Strange meets the X-Men. The following week, we'll have Firestarter.
I have to ask this.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the alleged leaked footage of the Illuminati?
No, and I don't want to know about it.
Yeah,
Moving on.
I have one more day. One more day to get through.
It the air.
I'm 90% sure it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Because of who they show. Just
Okay.
put it like that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Moving on. The following week is Firestarter. That's just me and Robert, unless somebody else jumps on that one. That's day and date on Peacock. The following week, Robert is taking the week off. David will be on, and we'll be doing Downton Abbey 2, The New Era. Allegedly, my wife will be on to flirt with David. We'll see what happens.
We'll do the on trial for the first Downton Abbey movie.
I haven't done that plug yet, sir. I'm only doing the Damn You Hollywood ones.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yes, I have a method to my madness. And then we close out May with another double feature here on Damn You Hollywood. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which goes PVOD the 17th. And After Yang, which is currently on, I think, Amazon Prime. I have to double check that. But yes, we will be doing 2 Asian-esque movies, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and After Yang. That'll be just myself and Robert. As what we're doing this week, we re-aired Robert's Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, the MCU Part 1. He and I had a lively discussion about why Tony Stark is the biggest villain in the MCU. And at the time, my daughter was in the hospital with pneumonia, so I missed the Age of Ultron review. So Robert so kindly back then let me do my yelling and screaming about James Spader in that movie.
To be fair, James Spader's still awesome, but boy, is that a badly written movie.
Yeah. We reviewed Ozark last night. This is mostly me and Jesse having a therapy session about how terrible women are, as portrayed by Laura Linney.
I gotta watch the final season still.
So, if you're interested in hearing me and Jesse's talk for an hour about how women are terrible, please check out our Ozark review. Tomorrow, it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, David.
Thanks.
We'll be celebrating with a Star Wars comic review, Shattered Empire, which, this may be the return of the gag reel, because I remember Jesse and I didn't talk about that comic for very long, but we talked about a whole lot of other Star Wars stuff. And I was my usual self. And then in the evening, speaking of Jesse, it'll be myself, Robert Cooper, and he will be reviewing the new Rammstein album, Zeit. So you can check that out. On Cinco de Mayo, we're re-airing our Brujeria review for Viva Presidente Trump. And then that's all, because I will be at Doctor Strange with my kids. And I will be at Doctor Strange with another person on the 6th. But you can check out me and Harry Broadhurst mostly talking about Bloodsport and For the Culture from the Collective this past WrestleMania, and spending the last 10 minutes in a screaming match at each other about whether or not white men should promote black wrestlers. It's a fun debate for your whole family.
How is that a fun debate?
It wasn't.
I need to know. I got listed that out of curiosity.
Oh yeah, and if you don't want to listen to the whole review, I will be clipping that for TikTok. And then Saturday, it'll be, unless I end up having dinner plans or some shit, it'll be myself and Dan Lasby doing the Canelo Alvarez Dimitri Bivol fight. Did you see?
Scorecards are already in the mail.
Oh, absolutely. 120-0 for Canelo. Who's it? Like Hergovich fucking pulled out of his fight? Somebody pulled out of a fight that I wanted to see on that card. Do you happen to catch the news about that?
I did not.
Okay, doesn't matter. Anyway, that's what's going on in the Radulich and Broadcast. That's what's going on formerly the American Radulich and Broadcasting Network, now known as American Whammy. let's go ahead and do your plugs, Mathew. Where can they find your podcast besides W2M?
Aside from W2M, you can find us on Chairshot Radio. And if you go to our Twitter at Talk to Keki, we have a link tree where you can listen to us for where we listen to your podcasts, such as Amazon, iHeart, Podbay, Podchaser, Apple Music. But we're mostly on the Spotify. That's our main focus. But you can find us wherever you listen to your podcast. You will find us there. Follow that Twitter at Talk to Keki. If you want to follow us individually, if you can follow me at DamienPhoenix12 or at Vincent Automem, where I do my VTuber streaming on Twitch. If you look up Vincent Canterbury, follow my co-host Showstopper24. We also have an Instagram for Talk to Keki, this at Talk to Keki, and then we have a side show called Keki Shop, where we basically have any guest that wants to come on. It's open invite, open availability. And what you do is that you talk about whatever your anime you are passionate about, and we will discuss it. Like, we'll geek out about it, whether we've seen it or we haven't seen it. If we haven't seen it, that basically you to convince us why we should watch it.
Okay,
Like, it is your spotlight to talk about what you love. I
want to pitch you an idea because I'm a pervert. Okay. So hang on. Let me get my stuff up here on Hulu.
I'm not doing lolly anime, so do not.
There's an anime that I became interested in because it looked like it had big boobies. And here it is. High School DD. I want to come on and talk. I want to come on and talk that one. How about that one?
Do it.
Or how about Afro?
Sure.
Either that or Afro Samurai. One of the two.
I'm okay with Afro Samurai.
You sure you don't want to do High School DD?
I'm good, baby. I'll think about it.
There's no way you could monetize that podcast.
No.
So
I will lose my Twitch affiliate fast.
Okay, hang on, Mark. Let me throw you another one that's less risque, but I think I sold you.
Don't say Boku no Pico.
Just hang on. I sold him Odd Taxi by saying that was what if Quentin Tarantino had made an anime, that would be what he would make. He would make Odd Taxi.
Okay.
If Michael Bay made an anime, it would be High School of the Dead.
Okay. Okay.
You're right.
I will throw that on my Hulu list. All right, that's enough silliness there. I want to go ahead and do David's plugs for him. David's on like every show in the month of May. It looks like he's on Doctor Strange. He's on the On Trial for for the Damn You Hollywood for Downton Abbey 2, A New Era, and that's just May. He's also on a whole bunch in June. He's on the Damn You Hollywood for Top Gun Maverick, Pacific Rim: The Black Season 2, Lightyear, Star Trek Lower Deck Season 2, and then things start to finally slow down. But yeah, May and June, David threw Jason Teasley in the pool and was like, I'm taking over this bitch. This is about to be the David Wright in network, American Whammy. So happy to have you aboard, David. I hope your wife doesn't join the litany of wives that are mad at me that I took their husband from them.
So far, so good.
All right. Speaking of men, I took from people's wives. Robert Winfree, your plugs.
Those two things do not connect at all. That's the worst segue you've ever come up with.
One of these things is not like the other.
One of these things is dead. Go ahead, Robert.
You have no idea how close you just came. I was this close to burning you.
Like I was this close to coverage.
No, but I choose the higher road. You can find me covering professional wrestling a few nights a week over in the wrestling zone of 411mania.com. I cover AEW's Dark Elevation on Monday, MLW stuff on Thursday, and WWE SmackDown on Friday. So all those are over there in their TV report section. If you're so inclined, give it a look. I'd appreciate it. I cover mixed martial arts action on Saturdays. This Saturday, UFC 274. We have 2 title fights, a great fight between Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira for Oliveira's lightweight title, and a rematch some 7-ish years in the making between Carla Esparza and Rose Namajunas. Those two fought for the first ever
The Thug Rose.
Please do not turn into Daniel Cormier. I might have to punch you.
Worth it.
It really wouldn't be. Those two fought for the...
Yes, get over it!
How do you turn into the obnoxious commentator and I'm the one you decide to try and harass? They fought for the original inaugural women's strawweight title years ago. Esparza won. Now Rose is the champion. This is Rose's like 4th or 5th rematch. I did the math on the Ground and Pound show. She's had only like of 16 professional fights, she's only had like 11 unique opponents. She's had a lot of rematches. Anyway, so that's our co-main event. You've also got Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. That should be great. The sad reality of Owen St. Preux fighting Mauricio Shogun Hua in a rematch when they were both from like 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, that might be closer to 7 too, now that I think about it. When they were both washed already. Anyway, I will be covering that this Saturday in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. If you want a full preview of the card, including technical breakdowns, my predictions, and whatnot, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast on Sundays. This last week was a review of the UFC on ESPN card headlined by Rob Font and Marlon Vera and a preview of UFC 274. So give that a listen if you're so inclined. I deeply appreciate it. And Mark already went over the other stuff for Damn You Hollywood, so I think that's everything I have to plug.
All right, folks. Once again, thank you for joining us here on Damn You Hollywood. For Mathew from Talk the KK, or the Jack KK. For David of No Social Media Whatsoever. And Robert Winfree for every damn social media he chooses. Be well, be safe, and behave.